Hey guys, it's Friday, and that means it's another double tap, I think. Yeah, we're here. Hooray!
Oh, that was a great intro.
This is Double Tap, where blind people talk tech. Here's Stephen Scott and Shaun Preece.
Yeah, the show that newspapers in Canada once said is still on air. Yeah. Hi. How are you?
I'm okay, Stephen. Long week, obviously.
No, it's not too bad. Just, I've been digging through the inbox, finding a lot of interesting stuff. I have to say, the problem with our inbox, and it's a great problem to have, is that every single email, and I mean literally every single email, could almost be a show in itself. When you think about it, everybody who gets in touch has got such a great story to tell, or a great question to ask, or a great subject to bring up. Mm-hmm. And it just could lead to an hour of just us talking about that one email, which is why we take forever to get through the emails. And that's the answer, honest.
Well, you just totally ruined my response there. That's exactly my point. Yeah, it takes us an hour to get through a response anyway. But yeah, thank you again so much. We should keep saying this, Stephen Scott. Thank you so much for all your emails and voicemails. Absolutely amazing. They never stop, and please don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's dive in then. Come on, let's do it. Come on. Wait.
Email. We get email. We get your email every day.
Ding dong.
Here's your mail today.
Friday. Email. There you go.
Oh, sorry, was that...
No, it's not a thing. It's just I decided just to say that.
I thought that was a warning, like there was one coming at me or something. I was just about to duck out of the way. Oh, dear. Someone said that the other day. I was walking through somewhere and I had just heard someone shout, "Stop!" And of course, what do? I just stopped completely still and didn't take another step. And then it was just, "No, not you." All right, thanks.
That's my favourite thing. It's when people say hello and then you realise they're on the phone to someone. There's like a small gap, and then there's that. Sometimes people notice, and then they get awkward about it, and it's like, "Oh, I'm on my phone. Sorry." Jeez.
It's worse than that when they just go, "Yeah, you're all right," and then carry on talking, and then you realise they were on the phone, but they were polite enough not to tell you they were on the phone. You know what? I'm over that now. I don't care. Even if I hear a hello faintly from 3 miles away,
you're just shouting it back.
Hello!
And you actually almost kind of go over the top with it. Like,
hi! Why not? Yeah.
Hi!
What do you do? What's the options here? What's the blind option, Stephen Scott?
The
old
options.
mute nod, just in case they're not talking to you, but they maybe still looks odd, right?
No, just do the thing we all do, which is that kind of cartoonish smile and just walk forward and just carry on.
Yeah.
That's the best thing to do.
Wow, that got awkward quickly. Welcome to my life. Okay, carry on.
Right, we're going to dive into the emails, and I think we're going to kick off with Johnny first up, who wants to talk about sighted ignorance. Oof, we're diving in here, diving into the tough topics right away.
Good afternoon, Stephen and Shaun. So, I wanted to get your opinion on a minor situation I encountered earlier today. I am very low vision. I rely on my white cane any time I leave the house, but I find as I get older, I've generally learned to become more patient and forgiving of most people when they are not trying to be rude or insulting. That said, I had the day off work today, and I decided to walk to my local Subway sandwich shop to get lunch. Now, this shop is a standalone building, nothing else nearby to accidentally wander into. I enter the shop and hear an employee say, "Hello," to which I replied, "Good morning." As you're both aware, when in unfamiliar places, we will walk a little slower and cautiously as to not run into anything. So I slowly walk further into the shop. A few moments later, the employee again says, "Hello," to which I reply, "Hello." It sounded like the employee was at the register, counting change, so I was wondering if I entered the shop before they officially opened for business. So I then asked, "You are open, right?" The employee replies, "Yes." So I then said, "May I place an order?" To which the employee snidely says, "Do you know where you are?" This threw me off because for a moment I wondered, did I go into the wrong place? But like I mentioned above, there was nothing else nearby to go into the wrong place. Plus, the shop has a distinct smell of their freshly baking bread. And I've walked to the shop many times over the past 10 years. I've lived in my home. So I reply, "Yes, I'm at Subway." And after a pause, to which the employee said nothing, I then replied, "But I do not think I wish to patronise your establishment," and left. As I am walking back home, I was quite irritated, and I said, as soon as I get home, I am going to go on their website and write a complaint. I was wondering, did this person honestly think blind people just walk into any door they find and say, give me some KFC chicken, hoping you entered the right place? Or did she just assume disabled people cannot pay their tab? I got busy doing other things around the house and my irritation has passed. I have not yet sent that complaint email I was going to send, but I wanted to get your take on this situation. Many years now, I have been very low vision and relying on my white cane. There have been a few times that I have found myself turned around and not sure where I am, but never have I walked into an establishment and had someone ask me, do you know where you are? I mean, I would expect if I walked into a Lamborghini dealership with my white cane to receive some skepticism, but not from a sandwich shop. And as the day progresses, I begin to wonder, was I irritated more by the ignorant employee and their rudeness, or was I more frustrated thinking how possible it is these days for me to walk into the wrong place and not realise it? Thoughts, Johnny P.
Wow. Okay. Like I said, just as I said at the start, right? We could do an hour on this alone because this is such a big topic, and I think you're not alone in this, Johnny. I think we've all been there.
Well, Subway, yeah, absolutely. Furious chicken, foot long. Thank you very much.
Oh dear, Furious chicken.
Johnny, you've irritated me.
Oh,
there, I've said it because I'm desperate to know what was going on there.
I know.
I mean, I don't think you did the wrong thing at all because it just sounded like a nightmare. But what was happening? And was the employee blind? Perhaps they just heard you coming in, and perhaps there was just a general misunderstanding, and it was all perfectly fine. But
are you saying this is like the movie See No Evil, Hear No Evil?
Hear No Evil, yes.
Where they're trying to talk to each other in the shop.
No, but I'm really interested. I'm really interested into what possibly was the employee thinking there. What was Johnny doing wrong? And you're absolutely right. I do exactly the same thing. I walk into a place and I usually stop and I listen, make sure I'm out of the doorway, obviously out of the way. And I stop and listen. I'm listening for that checkout sound. I'm listening for a sound of reception, or most of the time I'm just waiting for someone to come up and say, can I help you?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's nothing worse when you get that silent treatment. You know, do you know where you are? Kind of a weird question anyway to leave just hanging there. But then for you to say, yeah, I'm in Subway, and then to get no response, that just sets the whole thing off on the wrong direction, doesn't it? It's
yeah,
just,
I mean, I think
I'm getting out of here.
If you walk into, I mean, if you're sighted and you walk into that store and someone said, do you know where you are? The initial response would be, yeah, do you? You know, because you can say that with a confidence, knowing that you know exactly where you are, whereas there's that doubt creeping in, have I walked into the wrong place? Because I'll tell you a story which someone told me years ago. Sadly, this person's no longer with us, but I remember this story that he told me, and it really struck a chord because it kind of highlights a little bit what Johnny's reality was there, but also how things can change around you and you're not aware of them. So he'd gone into a shop. He went into this store every single day to buy some chewing gum. It's a little newsagent stand. You know, he would just go in and stand and get, you know, chewing gum or whatever it was he wanted on his journey, a bottle of water, whatever it was. And he would go in with his guide dog, and he would go in pretty much every day. But he'd been off work for a few months with illness. So he'd gone back to work, and his guide dog promptly, as the guide dog often does, if you go to a place regularly enough, they'll usually find it for you. And he said, find the shop, and the dog found the store, and then he goes. And this woman said to him, hello, can I help you? And he said, yes, I'm just looking for my chewing gum, please. Can I get some chewing gum? And she's like, well, I mean, I guess so, but can you give me a minute? And say, yes, sure, no problem. He knows that this person's now going to have to go off around the store to get the gum. She says, would you like to come with me? So he takes her arm, he walks through the store, and it seems he's walking further through the store than he's never really investigated the store, but the store felt bigger than perhaps it had felt originally, let's just say. Mm-hmm. And then he was led to a seat and asked to sit down. And so he did, and felt a bit odd, thinking, why is there a seat in here? And why am I sitting here? And she says,
sorry, at that point you ask questions.
Well, he sat down. And I think there's a British politeness thing that comes in here, though. Everyone just feels like, yeah, well, someone will tell me what's going on at some point. And he proceeded to sit down, and the woman went away. She came back with half a pack of chewing gum and said, there you go. Gave it to him, and he said, oh, okay, do you not have a full pack? And she said, no, I'm afraid not. That's all we have. And so he said, okay, how much does this cost? I mean, at that point, I'd be like, wait a minute. But okay, he wanted to pay, and she said, no, it's all right, don't worry about it. And he said, can I just ask? This is the point his interest was piqued. He said, this is the newsagent shop, right? And she said, oh, no. She said, that closed down weeks ago. This is a massage parlor.
Oh, well, I'm here. Okay.
Oh, well, in that case, can someone look after the dog? But I mean, honestly, the shop had changed, right? The shop was a newsstand shop, newsagent, whatever. And now it had turned into a massage parlor in the space of the months he was off work. And of course, his dog just took him to that place. So, there is that sense, and I'm not suggesting that's what happened to you, Johnny. I don't think all of a sudden you're standing inside a massage parlor, or you never know. But, it does kind of show you how the environment can change around you. But as far as you're concerned, everything's the same. And there's that confusion. And the confusion really comes from the fact that nobody seems to be able to communicate.
Yeah, that's exactly the only real issue here. It's because, look, I've walked into wrong places a few times. Not very often. I think it's a bit of a blind stereotype that we're constantly walking into the wrong places, the wrong shops or whatever, because we're very, very concentrating, aren't we? We're very conscious of where we are. So that happens very rarely, but it does happen now and again. But
I did it. I went to I think I told you, remember, I went to the wrong store. There's like, in our village, there's very, very few number of shops.
Yeah.
And they all, and there's like 3 shops in a row in this one particular block. I mean, I say block. I mean, we're talking 3 shops and that's it. It's a very small block. Yeah. And I knew that the first one was an optician. You don't want to get that wrong because that's just too funny. Hi there, can I have a pound of meat, please? But, I was looking for the butcher's, which was the next one along. Now, I say 3 now, but at the time there were only 2. And so I go into the next store along. I hear music on, so I think, okay, there we go. So I go in the door. And the only thing I was aware of visually was it was very dark. Very dark. But I mean, I think the butcher shop was generally quite dark anyway. So I thought, okay, whatever. Now, there was, let's just say, a notable absence of smell of meat when I walked in the door.
Yeah,
so that should have been
number 1. Yeah.
And a very nice smell, which was kind of more surprising. Like, I don't know, are they tarting up these animals before they're sold, perfuming them? What are they doing?
Yeah.
So anyway, I go up to what I think is the counter, and this lovely woman, I says, hi there, I'm looking to buy some sausages. And she said, well, not going to get much luck in here. She said, because this is a tanning salon.
Oh.
And I said, oh. So if and thankfully I was quick enough to say, so if I bring the sausages in here, you can brown them for me. But thank you. But she said, no, it's next door. It's the shop along. And I said, oh, I didn't realize there was a shop in between. And that was the thing. I didn't know there was actually a shop in the middle.
Just open.
So it just opened
But
up.
as soon as you walked in there, right?
I mean, I should have figured something. I mean, I knew something wasn't right.
But you're on autopilot.
But you're kind of thinking, okay, maybe I'm just mixing something up here. Because like Johnny, that shop should have been the right shop. And I think in Johnny's case, it clearly was.
Yeah. But the point is, look, that example you just gave, it was fine because of the communication, right?
Yeah.
The problem always comes about. It's the same when I'm about and I hear someone walking past me or stopping suddenly when I'm walking past them, and you say something to them and they say nothing. They're paralyzed by the fear of a disabled person talking to them or whatever it may be. And that really puts you on edge. And it just sets this all awkward communication, well, lack of communication, really. And that's exactly what's happened here. This should just be a simple case of, okay, this is Subway, right? Yeah, sorry, I'm just doing this at a minute. Give me a minute or whatever it was. I'm really intrigued to know what the problem was.
Yeah, I think we'll never understand the depths of where people's minds go when it comes to disability.
Yeah.
I've heard some horror stories over the years. People who've been told, like a friend of ours who was told, they shouldn't be allowed to breed because they dared to have children. I mean, that's a true story. Someone actually coming up to that person in the middle of a street and saying that. That should horrify all of us that people even think that way, would even say such a thing. I mean, to another human being in the street you don't know. I mean, you would be be unfriended for life if you said that to someone you knew. But to say it to someone you don't even know, you know nothing about that individual, and you just come up and say these things. And we live in a world now where you've got to be so careful what you say because you might offend someone. Which, by the way, you know, offense is a thing, in case you're unaware of it, that is taken, not given. So you choose to take offense, and if you take offense, that's your problem. And, you know, like with blindness, like with anything else, you know, we take that offense if we choose to take it. You can also ignore it. But we live in a world now where people are so, I would say, easily offended and take offense very easily. Yet when it comes to disability, it's open season on us. I mean, there was a time where it was people who were fat, overweight, right? That was a thing for a long time. I think ageism as well is still something that a lot of jokes are made about, and no one seems to care. A lot of jokes about old people, memory, all that kind of stuff, they still get made, and that seems to just get passed. And disability is another. You know, these are areas where, frankly, you know, we are forever in a situation where we're just able to be talked to in a way that is demeaning sometimes, which is, have you always been blind? I mean, God, I remember that guy in the coach said that to me. And it was only a couple of days afterwards. I mean, I had a joke about it, and I said, okay, fine, yeah, people say that all the time. But then imagine you had been in an accident like a year earlier and you had lost your vision, and someone just turned around and said that to you. You know, you wouldn't say that to any, you know, if someone you knew had cancer and you knew they had gone through remission, you wouldn't turn around at any point and say, so you still got the cancer then? How's cancer doing? You wouldn't say that, would you? And again, it's that thing about perspective, about bringing that perspective to it, to say, but you wouldn't say that to that person. Why would you say this to me? I don't know if it's because people feel it's the only way they can communicate. Like you say, they're paralyzed by that fear of
deer in the headlights. How
can I talk to this person? And they think the only thing they can talk to us about is our vision. It's the only thing they can connect to us on.
Maybe a case. But would you argue that employee was was offensive behaviour?
I don't know. I wouldn't say offensive.
You mentioned that you can only, you can take offence, you can't give it. Again, with everything, I think there's lines in society. Coming up to someone and saying you shouldn't be allowed to breed, no matter what the context, is a step over that line.
100%
right?
agree. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take offence. I'm just saying that people do take offence. You could easily turn around and tell that person to get lost and move on with your day, right? I mean, I'm not saying that this person's reaction to that was
still
wrong.
An offensive remark to make.
Well, but I think if you're going to say offence is given, offence is taken, I should say, then you have to take that across the line, right? You've got to take that across the board. That's not to say you shouldn't be offended. I'm not saying that. Because I would be offended if someone said that to me. I'd be horrified.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
And I'd want to challenge it.
Yeah, there's no black and white to anything.
No.
Is the point.
But in terms of this particular employee, look, did you do the wrong thing, Johnny? Not at all. Not at all. I think you did what was right for you in that moment. And again, this is an important thing to say about this. It's like the offence thing. Our reaction is our reaction. Have control on that, right? You still have your control. You took control of that situation. You said, I don't want to be in this situation anymore. And you left. That was the right thing for you to do at that moment. For you. Some people might have said, okay, do you know what? I'm here. Fine. Because in my case, if I'm honest, I'd have probably thought it's taken me so long, so much effort, so much energy to get here. I'm going to do the thing anyway. I'll be happy about it, but I'll do it.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't know what I'm being unhappy about. My next line would have been, sorry, is there a problem here? What's going on?
But you know as well as I do. But you know as well as I do. I think there's a lot of people who might go that way, but I think we also fear sometimes that we don't know the situation we're in, right? So you don't know if you say, sorry, is there a problem here? The way people kick off these days, and you just don't know.
A fair point. Yeah,
I remember being on a train. I remember the first time it happened to me was when I was on a train, and it was kind of let's say late at night. It was about 8 o'clock at night, but it was winter, and I don't normally travel late on trains or any public transport, frankly, at night, or even in the cities. I tend to, I'm home and usually in bed at 8 o'clock. Never mind anything else. And so this particular night, it was about 8 o'clock at night. And there I am on the train. And at the other end of the train, I can hear voices getting louder and louder. And I thought, something's happening here. And it really freaked me out because it was the first time since I'd lost more vision that I was in a situation where I thought, I'm vulnerable and I don't know what to do here. And I don't want to end up in the middle of something. And so there's almost a sense of, do you be the blind guy and just sit there staring at the wall and just hope they ignore you? because, this noise was getting closer and closer and closer. And thankfully, the train was pulling into a station and I was able to get off the train before whatever carnage was coming my way met me.
Rolling thunder heading towards you. It's
But it's
scary,
just terrifying
right?
when these things happen because you just don't know what is going on, and you don't. And look, it could just be a rowdy crowd. They're lovely people. I've had that many times.
Yeah,
walked into a rowdy crowd of people, loveliest people you could ever meet, all very friendly. I was convinced I was in a war zone at that moment. Because you just don't know. You don't know the scenario. You don't know what you're walking into.
Scary. You do feel vulnerable at that point.
So that's why I think tackling someone or challenging someone can be frightening as well. And there is that temptation just to say, do you know what? And I think Johnny did the right thing here. Turn around and walk away. If you're unsure, if in doubt, walk out, right? Just get out of it. Just get away from it. I think you did the right thing.
Yeah, I think as a general rule, I think you're right.
And you're right. Don't go near that place again. They don't deserve your business. If they don't see you as a human being, go somewhere else for sandwiches. I'm sure there's I'm sure other options are available for sandwiches around there.
That's true. And it's very expensive.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, get rid.
Yeah, forget it. Don't go there. KFC.
There you go. All the chicken sandwiches you can eat. Right, look. I should stick around. What am I talking about? I'm not going to break yet.
Have we been?
No,
we've been that long.
We've been off air. We're still on. Right, let's go. I want to bring in Trevor's message because this follows up on our chat with Kirsty McIntosh about Soundscape, you might remember. Here's Trevor.
Morning. Paused the interview, downloaded Soundscape and tried it out. Damn! Tried several of the GPS and wayfinding apps a few months back, including Google Maps, and was frustrated by the lag, the ridiculous sign-up or sign-in process, only for a mediocre result. Soundscape has an almost non-existent lag of 1 to 2 seconds or steps after changing direction or crossing the road. Dave Craig even took the time to write and give me a heads up on bone conduction headphones, as they don't cover the ear, so I can still rely on my hearing for waypoint and natural echolocation. Absolutely brilliant. Simple. Took about 10, maybe 20 minutes to learn, including walking out the driveway and crossing a few of the surrounding streets and back again to set the end of the drive as home waypoint. And for what it's worth, I worked in service not-for-profits in my previous gallery and museum program outreach life before going blind, and I fully agree with the idea of those service NFP globally putting just $10 aside and either investing $2, $5 or the full $10 into support technologies like Soundscape and organisations like Scottish Tech Army. As a single organisation, it's nothing, even for the most skint of budgets. But once that drop falls into the global bucket, the effect it will have in continuing to provide remarkable support for volunteer and development tech like Soundscape or any other program or technology that critically impacts a service NFP's clientele, an essential of how our thinking has to change with NFPs globally. There is an ebb and tide and flow of funding to our NFPs around the world, every generation. With the heavy lockdown of purse strings over these last 10 years, too many NFPs have adopted more corporate policy making and structuring, often losing their person or client-centric methodologies. Everywhere in the world, we've all lost a program that was crucial to our respective needs community because the program wasn't reviewed based on the realistic challenges of the catchment and the clients, but was only reviewed in terms of headcount on profit. NFPs, scrupulous NFPs, are founded with a goal in mind, not profit. And that's the very scary drastic change we've been experiencing for the last 10 to 15 years. The new landscape was created with the internet's inception of crowdfunding platforms. Unfortunately, that little nugget of new thinking hasn't made its way into common global NFP practice. But it might, it just might, now that there's these conversations being held on podcasts that are, and if they aren't, should be, listened to by the boards and leaders of those good-hearted and well-meaning forward-thinking global NFPs. So, sorry Mr. F, close the office door, knock back a few slugs from the bottom drawer and put your fingers in your ears because precisely what Stephen and Shaun are shouting from the satellite needs to be heard, and is being heard, globally. And it starts with me too. I am part of that demographic now that lives below sustainable income, but this experience with Soundscape and the team, your conversation, I'm figuring out if I can manage to do the $10 a month, or if it has to be a little more, but minimum once a year support of initiatives like the Scottish Tech Army. Because shouting and pointing fingers is one thing, but what's the saying again? Be the change you want to see. Thanks for all the rants, banter, disagreements and discussion on all the broad topics surrounding technology and being blind. And thanks for allowing your listeners like me to participate. Later on, Trevor. P.S.
Oh.
Thought about.
I do apologise, Trevor. I just cut you off earlier there, and I can't bring that back, sadly. But that is, we'll come back to that a little bit later. I know I hit
Trevor's
the button
got a PS.
too early. I know, I'm sorry.
Oh, you jumped over Trevor's PSing there. This is a disgrace.
I was trigger happy over here, so I pressed my button too quickly. Sorry about that.
Okay, first question, Stephen Scott. NFP?
Non-fundable person.
Okay, not for profit, I believe, in that context is what Trevor was talking about. Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah, you know me. I'm always here. I'm always available. I mean, I can give you an answer. I absolutely guarantee it will not be the right one, but I can give you an answer.
Yes. Okay. Well, we'll come back to that in a second. There's two parts to this one. Firstly, Soundscape is amazing, and I totally agree. Now, admittedly, at the moment, I'm using Voice Vista, which is just a different version of Soundscape.
Evil.
Sorry. The code was.
I'm only kidding. Don't start writing.
Made open source, and anyone can develop a Soundscape-like app, which was what's done with Voice Vista. I use it every morning, and you're exactly right. And we talked about the Lumen at the start of the week, and I was saying about the technology is there. It's just what form factor. And GPS is the same. I always remember when GPS was becoming the thing. Everyone was talking about TomToms and whatever else, and Navigon, the app, was the first thing I got on the iPhone. I thought GPS is going to be the answer for me. Turn-by-turn directions. I'm never going to get lost again. It didn't really turn out like that. But the point is that the way that Soundscape works is just so good. That responsiveness, right? And again, we're talking about an app tailored to our needs. And when I turn a corner onto a new street, I want to know pretty soon what street I'm on and what the next intersection is. That's important to me. I don't want to take, 500 steps and then, turn around, which I find with a lot of other GPS turn-by-turn. This isn't a turn-by-turn app, by the way, but I just think it works so well. And the work that they've done, the Scottish Tech Army, absolutely amazing.
Da 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 da.
Well done. And the developer of Voice Vista, whose name has gone out of my head currently, but he did a great job as well. And you know what? I donated an optional subscription, annual subscription. I think it was £9 or something. And absolutely happy to pay for an app that I use every day and I think deserves funding, which takes us on to the second part of the question.
Should people put their hand in their pocket? I think, look, I don't think there's a mechanism for this with the Scottish Tech Army yet, because they are very keen not to ask blind people to pay. They want to make this available to people. They want, as Kirsty said to us, they want charities and organisations for blind people to actually put their hand in their pocket and essentially take some, not take ownership of it, but essentially help to fund it. Problem is, a lot of them want ownership. That's a problem. I don't get why we can't just see this as a coming together moment. I don't get this. Why? What's the ownership requirement here? Scottish Tech Army have made it clear.
Ownership?
Well, I suppose it's about saying we do this, right? We're doing this. I mean,
but you could do that anyway.
Do it anyway, exactly. I know it's like
brought
you could
to
say,
you by, supported by, and a list of the various organisations that help to fund this project, which is an incredibly important one.
Yeah,
I don't understand. If you take ownership of it, that means you've got to start maintaining it, developing it, paying for those costs. So why would you want to do that? You've got an opportunity to align yourself with an app that's really respected in the community for very little cost. It's a win-win.
Especially for a large charity, right? I mean, we're not talking a lot of money. They've made it clear. We're not talking about a lot of money here. It's infuriating to some degree that you can't get buy-in on that. That just doesn't make any sense to me, which is kind of why, I have to say, if blind people ran blindness organizations, and I mean across the board, not just at the CEO level, I mean across the organization, you might have more voices that would be chipping in on this. I think oftentimes the problem, let's be honest, is that you have CEOs who are not blind, you have directors who are not blind, and therefore they don't have a pulse. They don't have their finger on the pulse of any of this stuff. They all have pulses, I should be clear on that, but they don't have their fingers on the pulse of the issues. And that's the problem here. That is the issue. With the greatest of respect, the greatest of respect to people who run organizations, no matter who they are, no matter which organization it is, We know, for example, RNIB in the UK has just announced its new chief executive who will be taking the place of Matt Stringer in December. And this new person, I believe, is not blind. Now, that doesn't surprise me at all, if I'm being perfectly honest. This is par for the course, it would seem. But it does infuriate me, because we're in a situation where in 2025, yet again, we are saying that the person who runs this organization is not blind. Now, again, I don't want to have someone in place who's blind just because they're blind. But,
sounds like it.
But are you telling me that anyone who applied for that role, the number of people who applied, none of them were capable of doing it who were blind?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
if that's the case,
not the case.
If that's the case, then okay. But I don't know if that's true. That doesn't feel true to me. And then, again, it's beyond that. It's who are the directors, who's actually running this organization day to day, as well as the CEO. Other blind people running there as well. And this is not unique to RNIB. This is the case now. I think I think Vision Australia has just appointed someone who's low vision as their first CEO.
We're getting there.
Not their first CEO. Well, yeah, I hate to be flippant about it. And, I really don't mean to be flippant about it, but it does sometimes feel like the way we're going to get here is like bit by bit, like someone with RP who's at the early stages. Yeah. Then the next person might have, glaucoma. And then, we'll get to the point where someone has no vision at all. It's almost like we're building up to it, and it's just nonsense to me.
Well, let me ask you a question, Stephen Scott.
Tell you what, let's take a short break. We need to take a break. Let's do that, and then we'll come back and we will continue this. This is Double Tap. Double Tap thanks Pneuma Solutions for supporting this podcast and for championing the belief that access to information is a right, not a privilege. From the classroom to the workplace, Pneuma is transforming how organizations deliver accessible content, empowering blind and print-disabled people to engage fully independently and securely. Whether it's providing remote tech support through Remote Incident Manager, turning inaccessible files into readable ones with Scribe, or making virtual meetings inclusive with Scribe for Meetings, Pneuma's cloud-based tools are paving the way for a more inclusive digital world. Their work isn't just innovative, it's essential. And to celebrate our partnership, they're giving away 10 Remote Incident Manager and 10 Scribe for Document subscriptions exclusively to the Double Tap community. You can sign up at doubletaponair.com/subscribe for your chance to win and stay up to date with everything we're working on.
Get in touch with Double Tap. Email feedback at doubletaponair.com. Leave us a voicemail at 1-877-803-4567. And now you can send an audio or video message to us on WhatsApp. That number is 1-613-481-0144.
Yep, get in touch. Tell us your thoughts on everything we're talking about. Of course, I don't know how you'd even start on this program, but good luck to you. So we're talking there about organizations not being led by blind people, and I cut you off. So please
my question was, let's say a CEO is appointed to the head of a sight loss organization, right? Not blind. Do you immediately doubt the relevance that any of their decisions are going to have on you?
No. Well, I think the short answer to that is no, because I don't know who this person is. I know nothing about this individual. I want to give them a chance. So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's a broader symbolism that's at play here. If you are an organization running, an organization for blind people, as RNIB is, as CNIB is, as Vision Australia is, NFB, ACB, all of that, I think it is your duty, especially when you are out there telling the world, employ more blind people. Core message, one of the core messages is employ more blind people. And blind people need to be in the workplace. If you're doing that, and at your senior level, there is no one who is blind, or very few people who are blind, I just don't understand how people can look at that and take it seriously. Because to me, it looks like from the outside, not from the blind world. I mean, I'm talking about from the sighted world looking in. It's almost like, well, of course, we have these sighted people who have to look after the blind people.
Yeah, is it empty words? Yeah, I honestly don't know the answer to that, but I suppose it depends what we think the goals and aims of a sight loss organization is, because it does seem to me that it makes it look like it's help us, send in donations and help us help blind people.
Yeah, it's very old school charity in a lot of ways. It's the old style, and what charity was, and certainly what I grew up around in the UK, which was very much they help us. There's us helping them, and that was what RNIB, certainly as I was growing up, that was very much what it was about. I think the world's changed, though. I think that's the thing. The world's changed. Blind people want to be more in charge of their lives, in charge of their conversations, and that's something that is fairly new, I have to say. In the UK, I mean, in the NFB in the States, for example, very much an organisation which is focused on about blind people leading, as I think they say, the best lives they want, or the best lives they, whatever the line is. But it's essentially about saying you as a blind person can go and live whatever life you want to live, and we'll help you in any way we can. We're here for you. We're here through peer support, but we're also blind people running this, so we know what needs to be done, and we're going to do it with your support. We're going to, and it made it much more credible to the blind community. Because, I agree. Because the people who they were talking to also understood the concerns, and they were able to work together. And, like I said, when you go to the NFB convention, it is a world away from what I've seen anywhere else in the world. It really is. Blind people coming together and saying, these are the issues that bother us. Now, whether we agree or disagree on the issues, it doesn't matter. In fact, the reason that when I get so excited about a lot of the issues that come up, hear about whether we use the words visually impaired or not, right? Yeah, okay, I don't agree with that. That's not a thing I agree with. But I really respect the fact that it's an organisation saying, well, look, you want to talk about this. This is an issue we need to discuss. And therefore, it does become an issue that we talk about. Whether we agree or disagree on the premise of it, it's credible, it's genuine. But oftentimes I hear about campaigns coming out from other charities, and I think, what's this got to do with us? Or is this even focused on us? Is this even helping us? And I don't know.
Well, not directly. It may be indirectly if it increased funding to that organisation, who can then put services and whatever else in place to help blind people. Then you could argue, yes, it does benefit us.
And look, the other side of this coin that very few people ever talk about in these arguments, and it's really important to say, is that there are a lot of people out there who are blind who do need help. Right? We don't live in a world where we're all perfectly, fully functioning individuals with jobs that are able to do anything we want and pick a career, anything we want to do. We do what we do here at Double Tap, and we have a great time. But let's be honest, it's been kind of manufactured in a way, if you think about it, to suit our lives, right? Because we feel better working from home. Traveling is a challenge, all these things that are part of our life. So we've kind of built this little world. There's a lot of people who are blind become self-employed to do. That's the thing. They actually end up becoming self-employed to do that, because then they can control their lives a bit more. Obviously with the pandemic and lockdown, that allowed more people to work from home. That helped as well for a lot of disabled people, being able to find their way in the workplace. And it is challenging. It is challenging to climb up the pole as well, with the challenges we have and the demands that a CEO role and other roles put on us. But it's not impossible, absolutely not impossible, for a blind person to become a CEO. But if you watched and charted the successors of just the RNIB, you would assume it is.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. It's the outside looking in. Look, whether or not this person who's coming in, who I don't know, and I don't know anything about him, but whether or not this person is going to be the greatest person for blind people, I may well be. I'm going to give you one example. Mike Buckley of Be My Eyes, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Mike Buckley is fully sighted, and I use him as an example quite a lot in this conversation. And this is why I always say it's not just about having a blind person in the room, it's having someone who's interested, who's engaged, who's willing to listen to other blind people. He really does listen. He takes it on board. Look at the product. Look at how successful it is. Every time I read about these partnerships that Mike, not Mike alone, but I mean, Mike is part of, obviously he's a CEO, but he has a team of people working with him, and a great bunch of people who are advising and working with him. And many of those are blind, including the founder as well. You can really see an organization that is really, really listening to and taking on board what blind people in the blind community want. If the new guy comes into RNIB and he's like that, then this could be a very bright future for RNIB. And I would like to think we'd stand up and cheer and say, good for you. What do I want from this individual? I want them to listen to blind people. I want the RNIB in particular to engage more with a broader base of blind people, not just 10 people here, 10 people there, as they tend to do and have done recently since they abandoned the whole membership scheme, which was a big mistake in my view, because that took away the ability to bring lots of blind people together and for us to feel part of it. You know, for us to feel part of it and to have a voice in it, we need to be part of it. How do I do that right now? I've got no way of doing it. No. So, you know, I am sitting here shouting from the sidelines, and people will say to me, well, you know, you can't say that about RNIB. You can't say that. Well, how else have I to tell them? Do I call up the helpline and just say, hello, I don't think you're doing this very well. Okay, thanks. Straight in the bin with that idea. You know, because honestly, how else do you feed it back? And, you know, if we're a community represented by this organization, then I feel I should be part of that organization in some way so that I can help shape that voice. I don't want that voice to be dictated to by a bunch of people in a room who I don't know, never met, and have never had any part of. I've heard this too many times. Well, you see, your view's wrong, Stephen, because, you know, these other people disagree with you. That's not how we should be running this. That's not how this should work. It shouldn't be 5 people making a decision on what all blind people think or want. And I've seen this not just, and again, this is not just a RNIB. I've seen this from organizations as well. Oh, we've got this individual in, and he says it's fantastic, our product. He says it's brilliant. It's very accessible. It's 100% brilliant. Mm-hmm. What? So blindness is one man standing in a field somewhere in the middle of England. Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that blindness? Yeah. I don't think so. A lot of voices out there, and a lot of voices who want to be heard now, also many who can't. And those voices need to be represented as well. And that's why I think a more community approach needs to be brought in by a lot of these organizations. And also, one thing I also want to say on this, because you've got me on a run now.
Yeah, I noticed.
I don't want to hear anymore. I don't want to hear that your mum or your dad or your son or your daughter is blind, and that therefore qualifies you for a role in a blindness organization. I don't think that is fair. I don't think it's fair. And I think it's unfair up against someone who is blind with what they call lived experience. Another phrase I hate, by the way. But, you know, experience, as we used to call it 10 minutes ago. Look, am I suggesting that you don't have any idea about what blindness is like? No, you will have an idea of what that individual is going through. In the same way that I, you know, might talk to my wife about women's issues, and I've lived with my wife a very long time, but I cannot sit here and tell you with a straight face that I understand women's issues in the way that she does. I just can't. You'd be laughed out of the room if you said that. Well, I mean, you know, I'm married to a woman, so I know all about women's issues. Really? No, she knows about the issues, and she's told you about them, and yes, you can empathize, but you can't know what that experience is like. You just can't. And you can't wear it. You know, that's why I'm against the whole sim specs thing, you know, where you simulated glasses that simulate sight or sight loss. I just think you can't just wear it like a
costume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Being that, as you might call it, disability adjacent, might give you empathy, but it doesn't give you the knowledge. It just doesn't. And the only people
They're
who know
allies,
that,
Stephen Scott. What's the matter
well,
with you?
okay, yeah, and that's fine. And again, that's good. That's fine. But I don't want the whole thing run by people who think they know or believe they know based on one particular experience. I'd much rather someone who's in charge, who's had experience themselves, are surrounded by other people who have their own experiences. That creates a much better result for the client, for the customer, the member, whoever.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think the thing we keep coming back to as well, it's not just the one position. You know, it's throughout the organization. Coming back to Soundscape, I know we're taking our time on this one, but coming back to Soundscape, I remember, you know, the whole reason it came about is because someone mentioned it to, sorry, I've forgotten her name, from Soundscape, from the Scottish Tech Army.
Oh, so Kirsty McIntosh, yeah.
Kirsty, yeah. Someone mentioned it to Kirsty at a dinner. You know, have you heard about this app that's going away? It's really... And that's the only reason it got picked up, right? And you think, just for that chance meeting, we could have missed out on this. And you think, you're right. You want someone who is part of that community, who's got their finger on the pulse, really.
And again, that's a huge part of it, right? Because like you said, that would never have happened. But then it takes someone like Kirsty, again, someone who listens, someone who's taking on board what people are saying, not assuming the answers. I think that's what it's about for me. It's people who, and we all know this, we all know someone who really gets it. You know, there's just those sighted people out there who we often talk about the negative, right? We say that, like we started off talking about sighted ignorance, right? But I've met many people over the years who just get it. And they don't assume the answer. That's the bottom line. They don't assume your situation or your answer. They will ask. I remember we were asked in an interview recently, someone said to us, what do I call someone if I meet them if they're blind? Or, do I say disabled? Do I say blind? Do I use that word? And I said, look, there's a really simple answer to this. Ask. Yeah. Just ask them. That's how you solve it. Have a conversation, listen and learn. That's all you need to do. And that's another thing. Oh, God, you got me on it. But listen and learn. It's not about learning. It's just about listening, right? These people that say, you got to do better, you got to listen, you got to learn. No, it's not about learning. It's about listening. Because first off, again, when you speak to one blind person, you've got the opinions of one blind person. Not every one of us are the same. We're all different. We're all different people. We all have different views, different thoughts, different positions on politics or religion or culture or whatever it might be. We're all different. We all have our different views. And that's good. But it just infuriates me. And I'll say something else. I feel it's bad that I'm in a situation today where I actually feel almost guilty bringing this up. Because I feel like I'm doing people down by saying, well, this new guy's coming into this organization or whatever, and, he's not blind. And, But I think it's also kind of shameful when you think about it, that we're even having to have this conversation in 2025. Is it now time for a blind person to run an organization? It's like, really? We're still having that conversation in 2025? We're still doing this? Well, and we are.
2025 seems the perfect time to do it. I mean, with all the DEI talk and everything going on there, I mean, we're getting into the realms of that argument, aren't we?
Well, we're getting to a point where...
Is the blindness the primary characteristic that qualifies someone for a job? Obviously not.
No, it's not. And again, I have to say this. There's some people who might say it is. There's some who might say it is. I mean, oftentimes when you really pin people on this, the hardliners who say, blind people should run organizations, end of story. And I hear it a lot from certain sectors of our world, of the blind world, where people will say, yes, blind people need to run organizations. And I don't disagree with that, but I go a little bit further and I say, as long as they're qualified, it cannot be anybody, right? I mean, look, do I think I could run, run RNIB? Absolutely not. I'd be the worst person in the world to do it. I think I've got some good ideas and good help. Yeah, I probably could, but I absolutely am not CEO material, I'll tell you that. I could barely organize this show, never mind an entire organization and people's lives and careers depending on me. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. But again, it's about getting the right people. And it's also about fostering it. Because it's not just about the argument of, well, we did actually seek out and we got like 4 people and they weren't particularly qualified. Well, do you know what? As an organization for blind people, maybe it's your job to foster it. Maybe it's to get people in on apprenticeships or training or jobs or whatever. Pay them, obviously, and train them. Make sure there's a succession plan to bring people up through the organization so that you can say, you identify people along the way and say, this individual in the organization is doing really well. Maybe if we train them, maybe we give them management courses, maybe we, help them along a bit. They get access to these things. And then like you do with anyone else in an organization. What's different? Now, that might be going on. I don't know. But there's no evidence of it, is my point.
No. Yeah. If it's going on, it's only just started.
We're still not employing people who are blind in the top jobs. And again, I'll say this one more time because it's important for nuance, because people always miss it when I say it. It's not just about the top job. It's about all sectors across, not just the directors either. It's not just the C-suite. It has to be across the organization, because that's how you get the best results. It's how you get the best debate, discussion. It's how you find the best solutions. And it's actually about building, as I said, a community beyond just the people you employ. Having a community of people you can bring together. I mean, these issues are often local to us. They're often, some issues are very local, some issues are national. It cannot just be, whatever's popular on Twitter right now this week that we kind of focus on. It's got to be more than that. It's got to come from the community itself directly. But look, we shall see. And like I say, It could turn out this particular person who comes in might be wonderful, in which case I wish him all the luck. And I do wish him all the luck, because it's a hard job. It really is. And look, let's not lie here. If the first person who took that job on who was blind, whoever that person was, let's say that the person who did take it on was totally blind. Can you imagine the amount of pressure that's on their heads to get that job right? Because if they screw it up in any way, again, we always have to go twice as far to go half the distance, right? We always have to do that. So we have to do 100% everything perfect all the way, make every blind person happy. Otherwise,
which is impossible.
Well, we're not going to employ one of those blind people again. And again, you would never say that about any other group, but people say it about blind people.
I think I'm going to say it again. I think the NFB just seems like the most positive direction to go.
Blind people leading the charge. Blind people in charge. Yeah, absolutely.
It's about us, so we run it.
That's the point. That's exactly it. Right, we'll take one more email before we go. Let's go to, I think this is Chris, if I've got this right.
Hi, Double Tap team. This is Chris again from New York. Just reaching out again to let you guys know about this really cool product that I really wasn't aware of, and it's something that a lot of people with disabilities may or may not know about. But you can actually purchase a portable mini keyboard for about $20 that can fit in your pocket. I never really knew about these devices until I had a conversation with someone, and we brought up some previous models, and I recently purchased one specifically called the RII. It's spelled RII, i4 mini Bluetooth keyboard, and it comes with a full-size little keyboard and numbers and a trackpad if you need them, and arrow keys on the top left for easy access for your left hand. And the whole thing is about the size of like my iPhone or smaller. It's a nice little handy thing to connect if you, let's say, want to use your NVDA, but also kind of lounge back so you don't have to touch your big bad boy keyboard, or if you want to put your PC on the TV, or if you want to buy, in my case, like a mini PC in the future, one that you could use for video gaming, but you want to use your screen reader, so you need a keyboard. Well, this little handy dandy thing could do that for you. I don't recommend typing emails on it or anything of the sorts, or writing something crazy, because the whole thing feels like one of those old school 2000s phones. But for general navigation and just using the screen reader and just like light stuff, it's fine. Browsing the internet, fine. So yeah, that's just my little quick hack of a day, I guess. Hope you guys enjoy. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about little mini Bluetooth keyboards. As always, thank you so much for your awesome and very informative show, and also very funny. You have a great rest of your day, and thank you all for what you do.
Now, you have a great rest of your day, Chris, in New York.
You, Chris, have a great day, y'all. That was amazing.
Did you see y'all?
I did, yes. Sorry, is that not New York?
That's Nashville.
Sorry, where's you all from? I don't know.
It's from the south.
Oh, okay.
Look at your geography all wrong. Coffee, I'm walking here.
Started him off. There's the trigger word.
Etc.
Stephen, mini. Can you have a full-size little keyboard? Is that a thing? Is that possible?
Yes, you absolutely can. And Chris just proved it.
Have you got one of these?
I don't think I've got one of those. I have what's the one I've got? It's the Revo. I was thinking of the Revo. I was getting mixed up.
That's where I thought we were going.
No, the RII is different. Yeah, it's more, I'd say more mainstream. But yeah, you do get these little ones. There was one I remember. It was like a PlayStation type controller, kind of size and style, but it had a full size keyboard on it as well. I think that's what you're talking about here, Chris. But yeah, that was quite an interesting idea. I never got one to try. I think because it had a trackpad in it, if I remember rightly. So I thought there's no point if I'm going to have that. But I mean, again, just a great idea for navigation. I mean, I would probably be okay. I did kind of laugh when he said, it's like an old school 2000s keyboard. I'm like, old school 2000s? That feels like yesterday to me. That's not old school. That's new school for me.
Talking about the mobile phone QWERTY keyboards that you used to get, which are basically just like little pimples that you used to play on, I'm assuming.
I think he's talking more about BlackBerry style, because that's the impression I got.
Yeah, of course. What did I used to have? E97 Nokia or something? Yeah, it's just, I'm not sure. If you say I wouldn't write an email on it, then kind of I'm thinking, well, what's the point? I could navigate using the on-screen. But then again, for something like if you've got a computer connected to your TV and you don't want a full-size keyboard hanging around the sofa, actually it does work okay for that. Depends how much, if you're just browsing around and, as he said, navigating, yeah, there's absolutely a use case. And for $20, yeah, give it a go.
Can't go wrong.
Like it. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Chris.
So I'm going to spend my weekend. I want to know what you're getting up to, because my weekend is going to be spent installing Dolphin Supernova and Dolphin Screen Reader.
Oh, separately? Well, what are you talking about?
I don't know anything about it yet. So basically, I'm going to install it because I did ask the wonderful people at Dolphin if they could help me out with a license to test it out, give it a go.
Oh.
And they very kindly obliged, which is wonderful.
Did they send you two by any chance?
No. Are you kidding?
No.
You're never going to install it.
Oh, right. No, I'm not now. No, of course.
Are you kidding
me? There's a 30-day free trial.
Yeah, there is a 30-day free trial, and I bet you'll never touch it in your life.
All right. Okay. Well, I don't need to because Stephen Scott is going to do it for me.
Well, I am. I'm going to do it because I'm intrigued. So I'm going to set that up because apparently, although I have no need for the magnifier side of it, apparently you get a lot more features if you have that full version, if you like. It's the full fat version. So I'm going to try it out and let you know how I get on over the next few weeks. I'm intrigued to try it. Yeah, I'm intrigued to try it. I suppose I'm kind of thinking.
All the time.
Well, I'm like, how I hate to say this because I know it must sound horrible to say. But it's like, how does it compare to JAWS and NVDA? At least from a user perspective. I don't mean so much in terms of power.
That's what people are asking.
That's right. That's what we want to know. I know everyone hates the comparisons. It's like, but there are other things out there. But look, you have to be honest. We're coming to it from those screen readers. So how does it perform?
That's how
compared to those
works. Yeah. We compare something against something else, and does it work better for me? Yeah, absolutely. No, that's going to be very interesting. I want
so 10 seconds. What's your weekend?
Doing absolutely nothing. Setting up a new exercise bike. I'm going to the gym. Have I mentioned that?
Goodness me. An exercise bike. Oh, well. He's off Monday then. Catch you then. Happy weekend.
Bye-bye.